Welcome to the mandatory post-fight show. We just saw the last crescendo and a great fight, great card, but we will be getting into everything. Before we get into all of that, remember to follow us on our social media channels. We're at the mandatory TKO. Also hit that like and subscribe button because it helps the channel grow, and we do appreciate you if you already have.
But how do y'all feel, chat, about Vergil Ortiz coming out of this performance? I think he looked like Vergil Ortiz, which, for better or worse, I mean, there's some flaws there that I feel like are potentially exploitable. I just don't think Madrimov is the kind of guy to exploit all of them, though he did early on.
I thought it was a classic Vergil Ortiz type of fight. He's going to go in there. He's going to have a high work rate. He's going to get hit, and he's going to put on a good performance, show his power. And I thought Vergil Ortiz did enough in that fight to win that fight. I thought Madrimov did, have some good moments in that fight too, but Vergil Ortiz won that. And I thought near the end, he looked really good.
Are we sure he won the fight? Is my question.
Yeah, I'm more than sure he won the fight.
Okay.
People were saying it was close. Did you have Madrimov winning that one?
No, but I like 114 was on the table. Like, he had two 115 113s, and there was a 117 111, which I thought was very, very generous. Very generous.
Yeah, I don't think I agreed with that one, but I thought Vergil definitely did enough to win that fight. And
it's two fights now back to back.
Who does he fight? Who does he fight next? But that's the thing that I like about Vergil is he's not perfect and he makes mistakes, but then he makes adjustments and he ends up winning. Like, that's what I love about Vergil Ortiz.
Great point.
And he's arguably one of the most entertaining fighters right now. And you know what, you might say that he may have ducked Xander Zayas, but he hasn't really ducked anybody.
Xander Zayas says he ducked Xander Zayas.
Okay, yeah, but you're Puerto Rican roots, so you might agree with that. But I'm just saying that I think Vergil Ortiz did his thing against a very tough Madrimov. Like, Madrimov, before he fought Bud, was undefeated. And I think a lot of people weren't impressed with Bud in that Madrimov fight, but he's a tricky fighter. Like, you know those tricky fighters like a Sandor Martin, like these guys are tough to beat. And so it's always going to be a little bit different on the scorecard. So I was impressed with Vergil Ortiz because I do believe that fight could have gone either way, but he did his thing. And so I think we got to put some more respect on Vergil Ortiz's name. That's what I think. He's beating tough guys out there.
We'll talk about what's next for Vergil Ortiz after beating Israil Madrimov, because this could go one of a lot of different directions. Do we need to put in Xander Zayas against Madrimov now just to see where he's at?
Is he ready for Madrimov? Because I think Madrimov is a tough fight.
Yes, he's ready for Madrimov. Yes.
I don't know, because I think we still need to see more from Xander. I think he needs a one more name, then Madrimov, and then a big fight. That's personally what I think, Brian. Like, here's 10 minutes on Xander Zayas. Like, are we doing this again? Like, oh, come on.
No, because we're treating Madrimov like Xander Zayas can't beat him. I think he could beat him right now. I don't think that's the fight I don't think that's the fight that they're going to make next, though. I don't think Top Rank is going to be like, all right, let's give you the guy who lost twice in a row, even though they were to Terrence Crawford and Vergil Ortiz. Like, he's going to get the Puerto Rican Day Parade fight. The guy who's campaigning for that is Charles Conwell. This is not about Xander Zayas. Although I do think what's next for Vergil Ortiz, I think a lot of people will say, hey, it should be Xander Zayas, potentially, because while Vergil Ortiz has rank and standing and things of that nature, so with this, he retains, going back to the WBC point in Saudi, the WBC interim championship at 154. The WBC champion right now at 154 is Sebastian Fundora. So logically, we should get Fundora Vergil Ortiz. Fundora, however, is defending his title soon. I think that's in April that he's fighting Cordell Booker. But that's going to be on a PBC card. So business-wise, I wonder how this would get done between Sebastian Fundora and Vergil Ortiz if it were to happen. This fight is actually going to be March 22nd. Sebastian Fundora, Cordell Booker, a friend of the show, Elijah Garcia, also going to be on that card against Terrell Gachet. So is Vergil Ortiz going to get the title shot next is what this comes down to for me. Because that's where he is in terms of rank. He just has a WBC interim title. Let's remember that Sebastian Fundora has a WBC and a WBO, and I feel like boxing is going to boxing here. There's going to be a game of chicken one of these two sanctioning bodies are going to get a title off of. They're going to force him to vacate. Like somehow they'll be like, hey, you have to fight this person. You have to they'll figure out a way to get the title off of him. It feels like, because WBO interim champion is Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford, we know, is going to fight Canelo Alvarez. He ain't fighting Sebastian Fundora. Vergil Ortiz is the interim WBC champion, and it's like, is the WBO going to figure out a way to get the title, creative way to get the title off of Fundora, so that they could have Xander Zayas fight for the vacant title, or is WBC going to figure it out so that Vergil Ortiz just has a title? I think some shady shit's going to happen at 154 over the next few months. That's my feel on this.
Well, I think that's the fight to make, though, is Vergil Ortiz and Sebastian Fundora. And I do think Xander Zayas should fight a guy like Jesus Ramos. And then if he was to beat Jesus Ramos, then he should fight Vergil Ortiz. That's what I think.
Because Jesus Ramos is on that card, by the way.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I think that Vergil Ortiz would beat Sebastian Fundora. And that's a good fight. I wonder if Fundora goes back to his old ways, because because against Tim Tszyu, like, he was actually like fighting like how he should fight. And I was like, oh, this is not like how Sebastian Fundora fights. But as you know, like, Vergil Ortiz will make you fight in his pace, and he'll make you fight on the inside. So Fundora's gonna be like, oh, let me go back to my old ways and fight in the inside, and boom, get knocked out by Vergil Ortiz. Like, if Vergil Ortiz and Sebastian Fundora fought, I would bet the knockout. Vergil Ortiz by KO or stoppage. That's what I would be betting. Yeah. But I think that's the fight to make. Vergil Ortiz, Sebastian Fundora. That's a massive fight. And the Mexican fans would love it. The Mexican-American fans would eat that fight up. Like, you could do that because Vergil Ortiz is from Texas. You could do that fight like in Dallas. You could do that fight in San Antonio. Like, you could do that fight in Arizona if you wanted to. That's a good fight.
The WBC rankings are funny because, number one, so it's Fundora, Ortiz, because they're the two champions. In terms of contenders, number one is it's Serhii Bohachuk, who Vergil Ortiz beat, barely, but beat by majority decision. 2 is Madrimov. We'll see where he is after this. 3 is Xander Zayas. 4 is Charles Conwell. I just had the thought, what if Charles Conwell, he's doing all this campaigning for Xander Zayas, and I'm here saying, like, I don't know if Top Rank is going to do Xander Zayas versus Charles Conwell Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend. I feel like it's going to be like slightly a cut under that in terms of level of competition. We could talk about Charles Conwell in a second in terms of where he's at. But I feel like, what if Charles Conwell just fights Vergil Ortiz next? Like, what if that's the fight that we see for the interim title in the meantime?
But it's not the best fight, you know? Like,
give us Vergil. That's a pretty good fight.
I think it's a good fight, but I'd rather see Vergil and Fundora. What's the holdup? Well, what are we waiting for?
He has to be Cordell Booker. I don't think that's a layup for Sebastian Fundora.
That's true. What about Bakram? Are we forgetting about him? Bakram is absolutely. I think he's scary. Like, are people avoiding him?
Probably. He's an IBF champion. He's not a sexy name, and he has a style that's going to piss you off and probably, like, destroy you. Like Bakram Murtazayev. Actually, we got a comment about him earlier. I think it was friend of the show, Mateo, who said, got a lot of comments we got to get to. Sorry, guys. Please drop some more comments before we get out of here, because we're going to get to them. Super chats also, they take over the show. So if you got any, please do. Mateo says, need to see Ortiz versus Murtazayev now too.
That's a good fight. That's a very good fight.
If Vergil Ortiz takes that fight, he's nuts.
I don't think he believes that he's gonna lose to anyone. Like, I think he thinks he's the best fighter every time he's in the ring. And so that's what I love about it. But that's like having a death wish. That's like trying to commit sue. You know, like,
okay, all right.
Yeah, like, that's a tough fight. Bakram is a guy I feel like you don't want to fight in this division.
Where is Erickson Lubin?
That's a good fight.
Supposedly he had a fight coming up in the spring that might be Pro Box TV, but I mean, it doesn't seem like it's official yet. He hasn't fought in a year and a half. That feels like somebody's Xander Zayas to fight.
Eric, yeah, but that's a tough fight for Xander Zayas. Like, that's not a layup. And
it's good.
Lubin's only 29 years old, but I feel like he's like 38. Like, he's been around forever.
Yeah.
You know, and he's so underrated. Like, I'm a big fan of Erickson Lubin. I know he's got a couple of losses. I don't care about that. He's been in the ring with some dudes.
I think so. Okay, here's what I think happens. I think Vergil Ortiz like I said, is probably like he's gonna get one of those. He's gonna get that WBC title one way or another.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he has to beat Sebastian Fundora to do it. Like I could see Fundora winning, and then like both sanctioning bodies are like, hey, you have to fight your mandatory, and then he has to give up one of the titles. It's like, oh shit. Like, I feel some bullshit's gonna happen here, honestly. But
not
I think
an email champion, not an email champion. You know, we don't want that again. I think
no.
I just think that they can make a very entertaining fight, and it could be a blockbuster fight because I think Vergil Ortiz and Sebastian Fundora it's a massive fight. Maybe I'm being a nerd, but like I love that fight.
How does it happen though? Like Virgil's not going to PBC.
Yeah.
And I don't know the name. Look, Fundora, this could be the last fight in this deal for all we know. I don't know. But
like if that happens, then Turk's gonna come in.
And
be like,
then,
guys.
then that's the answer.
He's gonna be like, guys. And he's gonna come in. You know what I noticed? I hate that the fights are in Saudi. And I'm just gonna be honest here. And I think there's like so many underlying issues, and this is not sustainable.